In 1864, a photographer whose name survives only as the initials J.H.W. was commissioned to document the mass graves at Crossbones graveyard in Southwark, London. The purpose was municipal. The unconsecrated burial ground, used since medieval times for outcasts, prostitutes, and paupers, was under consideration for redevelopment. The London Metropolitan Board of Works required visual evidence of the site's condition. J.H.W. produced 11 plates over the course of 2 days. 10 of those plates show what you would expect: collapsed wooden markers, subsided earth, overgrown pathways choked with ragwort and nettle. The 11th plate is the image you are looking at now, and it contains what archivists at the Southwark Local History Library have since referred to, in a handwritten annotation on the catalog sleeve, as the Unburied Face. Let us begin with what the photograph shows. The frame captures a section of open ground at the eastern perimeter of Crossbones graveyard. The soil is uneven, rutted, partially waterlogged. In the middle distance, a low iron railing leans at an angle, corroded almost to the point of collapse. Behind it, a brick wall marks the boundary with Red Cross Way. The light is flat, overcast, consistent with a winter exposure, likely late morning given the diffuse shadow angles. In the foreground, slightly left of center, the earth appears disturbed, not freshly dug, not a grave in progress. The soil has a sunken quality, as though something beneath it has compressed or shifted. And there, within that depression, partially emerging from the ground itself, is a face. It is not a skull. It is not skeletal remains surfacing through erosion, which would have been unremarkable in a graveyard of this age and neglect. It is a face. The features are intact. The eyes appear closed. The skin, if it is skin, has a smooth, almost luminous quality that contrasts sharply with the dark, granular soil surrounding it. The expression is neutral, neither peaceful nor distressed, simply present, as though someone were lying just beneath the surface with only their face exposed to the winter air. This is the first pass, objective observation. A face, unburied, in a graveyard that had received no new interments since 1853. Now look at the photograph again. Notice the texture of the ground immediately around the face. There is no disruption, no spade marks, no footprints. The soil is continuous, undisturbed, as though the face had always been there, as though the earth had simply chosen not to cover it. The second pass requires us to leave the image briefly, but only briefly, because we will return to it. In the Southwark archives, filed alongside the 11 glass plates, there is a single sheet of paper. It is a sworn statement, an affidavit, dated the 14th of February, 1865, approximately 2 months after the photographs were taken. The statement was made by a Mr. Thomas Caldwell, identified as a surveyor's assistant employed by the Board of Works. Caldwell had accompanied J.H.W. to Crossbones graveyard on the second day of the photographic survey. His statement describes the moment the 11th plate was exposed. Caldwell writes, and I will quote directly, "We had completed the circuit of the ground and were preparing to depart when Mr. W. directed my attention to a depression near the eastern fence. I approached and observed what appeared to be a human countenance lying flush with the soil. I assumed it to be a death mask or plaster, cast discarded among the graves. I attempted to retrieve it." The next line of Caldwell's affidavit is the one that has troubled every researcher who has encountered it. He writes, "Upon placing my hand beneath the chin of the object to lift it, I found that it did not move. It was not resting on the soil. It was continuous with it. The face had no back to the head. There was no head at all. There was only the face, and below it, earth. Look at the photograph again. The unburied face, as it sits in that shallow depression. Notice that there is no visible neck, no hairline. The face begins and ends at its own edges, surrounded entirely by soil, like a mask pressed into clay from below. Caldwell's description matches precisely what the camera captured: a face without a skull, a surface without a body beneath it. The third pass introduces the only other piece of physical evidence connected to this plate. In 1973, during construction work near Red Cross Way, a section of the old Crossbones boundary was excavated. Workers uncovered approximately 148 sets of remains, consistent with the graveyard's known use from the medieval period through the early 19th century. Among the skeletal remains, the site report notes one anomaly. A single skeleton, female, estimated age at death between 20 and 30 years, was found intact in every respect except one. The skull was present, the jaw was present, every bone of the cranium was accounted for. But the front of the skull, the facial plane, the area where the brow, the nose, the cheekbones, and the upper jaw formed the architecture of a human face, was perfectly smooth, flat, as though the face had been removed, not broken, not eroded. Removed with a precision that the examining osteologist described as, quote, inconsistent with any known taphonomic process. The skeleton was recovered from the eastern perimeter of the graveyard, near a collapsed iron railing, adjacent to the boundary wall along Red Cross Way. Now, look at the image one final time. The face in the soil, smooth, luminous, complete. Closed eyes, no skull behind it, no body beneath it. And somewhere below, perhaps directly below, a skeleton with every bone accounted for, except the one surface that would have made it recognizable as a person. The face was not buried. The face refused to be buried. Or perhaps more precisely, the ground refused to bury it. JHW submitted all 11 plates to the Board of Works. 10 were copied and filed in the public record. The 11th was returned to the photographer with a note that read simply, "Plate not suitable for inclusion. Surface defect. Surface defect." Caldwell's affidavit was never entered into official proceedings. It was found folded inside the catalog sleeve of the 11th plate, where it had remained, unread, for over a century. No subsequent photograph of Crossbones graveyard, and there have been many, has captured anything resembling the unburied face. The 1973 excavation report was filed with the Museum of London. The faceless skull was catalogued, measured, and placed in storage. It has not been re-examined. The photograph remains in the Southwark Local History Library. It is not on public display, but it is there. The face is still there, eyes closed, expression neutral, flush with the earth, belonging to no one, or belonging to someone who was never allowed to rest beneath it. The women buried at Crossbones were called the Winchester Geese. Outcast women. Women denied consecrated ground. Women whose names were not recorded. Perhaps a name is not the only thing that can be denied burial. The question I will leave with you is simple. If the face in this photograph belongs to the woman whose skull was found without one, then what kept it at the surface for over 100 years? And what, if anything, is keeping it there still?